Welcome to the channel, where we lead you beyond the glossy curtains to touch truths never before revealed. San Diego, the city by the Pacific, a vivid picture of endless blue seas reaching the horizon, fine golden sandy shores, and a mild climate, as if a gift from nature itself. Luxurious residential areas press close to the shoreline, palm trees bend gently in the breeze, and soft sunlight gilds every rooftop. But behind that shiny veneer lies another reality, a hidden hell. If you leave the brightly lit boulevards and follow the darker streets, you will see the thin paint peeling off this tourist city's facade. Downtown San Diego does not just smell of sea salt, it also carries the scent of mold, sweat, and despair creeping into every alley. Rows of makeshift tents stretch on, families curl up beneath overpasses, children sleep by the roadside, all amidst one of the wealthiest urban areas in America. This is not just the story of people who have lost their homes, but a warning about a system cracking apart. Stay with us to discover the truth San Diego does not want you to see. At the beginning of 2025, San Diego County recorded more than 10,200 people living without a home to return to. Within that dry number are thousands of life stories, memories of a lost home, and dreams left unfinished. Notably, over 5,000 of them live entirely outdoors, without any shelter to protect them from the blazing sun or sudden rainstorms. Between the sound of ocean waves and the salty Pacific breeze, they sleep on cold concrete or thin cardboard sheets, where bed and walls are merely luxury concepts. Imagine an evening in downtown San Diego. While bars glow with neon lights, seaside restaurants fill with tourists, and music blends with the sound of crashing waves, just a few blocks away, another reality unfolds. Streetlights cast their glow on dozens of faded, tattered tents where a young mother gently rocks her small child to sleep. Nearby, a teenage boy sits curled up on an old plastic chair, bent over his notebook, struggling to finish his homework under the dim yellow light of a street lamp. Every stroke of his pen carves into the darkness an effort not to be swallowed by life. More than 20% of the homeless population in San Diego are families with minors. This means the crisis is not only impacting adults who lost jobs or faced hardships, but is stealing the childhoods of thousands of children. These children grow up to the sound of late-night car horns, with the musty smell of rain-soaked tarps, and learn to sleep amid the noise of the streets instead of the calm of a warm room. In just 5 years, the homeless population here has surged by nearly 45%, a number that would shock anyone. This did not happen overnight. It is the result of a series of accumulating socio-economic factors, like hidden currents pushing the boat of thousands of lives away from safe harbor. San Diego continues to wear the appearance of a desirable city. Every year, millions of visitors come to enjoy the mild climate, bask under golden sunlight, and admire the luxurious coastal neighborhoods with some of the highest real estate prices in the U.S. Tech corporations and high-end real estate investors continuously pour capital into the city, erecting modern glass towers, five-star hotels, and new shopping centers. But behind that gleam, the city's social safety net resembles an old torn net, unable to catch those falling freely. The gap between rich and poor becomes increasingly tangible. It is not just present in statistics or financial reports, but visible on every street corner. On one side is an expensive cocktail on a hotel rooftop overlooking the ocean. On the other is a relief food box eaten hastily on the sidewalk as rain approaches. On one side are glass apartments facing the Pacific. On the other, taped-up tarps struggling against the cold sea winds at night. The story of homelessness in San Diego is not merely the personal tragedy of individuals losing their homes, but also a test of conscience and the responsiveness of a system. When one of the wealthiest cities in America allows thousands of people to live outdoors, we must ask ourselves, whose failure is this? And if we continue to turn a blind eye, how long will it be before these numbers touch our own lives? From a distance, the homelessness crisis in San Diego may seem like a sudden phenomenon, but in reality, it resembles a large wave formed from a series of smaller ripples, silent yet powerful forces relentlessly pushing people away from their homes. First and foremost, there is a severe shortage of affordable housing. San Diego is lacking over 130,000 units for low-income residents. While a minimum wage of around $16 per hour may sound livable when compared to an average rent exceeding $2,000 per month for a one-bedroom apartment, the disparity becomes staggering. A full-time worker must spend more than 2/3 of their income just to pay rent, not including utilities, food, or health insurance. Many families are forced to choose: pay rent or keep a roof over their heads or seek medical care. And when the choice becomes impossible, the home is the first thing they are forced to give up. Economic pressure in San Diego acts like a tightening vice. The city is renowned for its high quality of life, but the cost to maintain it is equally high. Food prices exceed the national average, and service and fuel costs consistently rank among the highest in the country. A minor economic shock, a car breaking down, hospital bills, or a few weeks of unemployment can become the final push that sends a family spiraling out of financial safety. Next comes the wave of evictions and homelessness. California is among the states with the highest eviction rates, and in 2024 alone, San Diego County recorded tens of thousands of eviction filings. 30-day eviction notices are not just legal papers, they are sentences forcing many to pack their entire lives into a few plastic bags. From there, they step onto the streets with a bleak future ahead. The crisis is further worsened by mental health issues and substance abuse. Many carry invisible wounds: PTSD from war or violence, chronic depression, bipolar disorder. Some turn to alcohol or drugs as a way to numb the pain, but mental health care systems are severely lacking. Treatment and recovery programs are often overwhelmed, with waiting lists stretching for months, leaving those most in need behind. And we cannot overlook personal tragedies, the sudden storms that strike a person's life: job loss, divorce, illness, or domestic violence. Each incident is like a brick falling from the foundation, and when enough bricks are lost, the whole house collapses. The crucial point to understand is this: most homeless people did not fall into this situation because of bad decisions. They did not choose to live on the streets. They are victims of a weak support system, a social safety net that is neither wide enough nor strong enough to catch them when they fall. Every life story in this crisis proves that the problem is not just individual, but deeply rooted in social structures, policies, and the values we prioritize as a community. If you want to touch the heart of San Diego's homelessness crisis, walk into East Village and the area around Petco Park. This is the commercial and entertainment core of the city, where every weekend thousands gather to watch baseball, sip cocktails on rooftops, or dine at upscale restaurants. During the day, sunlight reflects off the glass of newly built condos, sparkling like a tourist postcard. But just turn down a small side street, and that glow fades away, giving way to a completely different scene, a tent city rising right at the feet of million-dollar buildings. Faded tarps, plastic sheets patched with duct tape, rows of carts filled with plastic bags and bottles strewn across the sidewalks. The sea breeze whistles through every gap in the tarps, creating a rustling sound that blends with the clatter of metal carts, forming a raw soundtrack of street life. The smell of leftover food, the dampness of concrete, and the sweat from scorching days mingle and cling to the air, giving this place a distinct and unmistakable odor. Here, a home is 4 tarps wrapped around a small empty space, and an address is a corner of the sidewalk that people hope no one else will take while they're away. Despite being makeshift and scarce, these tent cities offer something precious that not every homeless person has: a sense of community. People share water bottles during scorching hot days, watch over each other's belongings when someone has to leave, and notice when someone has been gone too long. Amid the harshness, fragile yet warm bonds still exist. However, the existence of these communities is constantly under threat. Whenever San Diego prepares for a major event, an international conference, a summer festival, or a big game, the authorities launch cleanup campaigns. Trucks, sanitation workers, and police arrive. Tents are dismantled, belongings collected, many items abandoned or lost. Some residents are taken to shelters, already overcrowded and only allowing short stays. Others are forced to move to more remote areas, farther from the city center, losing the fragile safety nets they had. Human rights organizations and lawyers have often spoken out, calling these actions image cleaning, a way to hide the problem instead of solving it. They argue that forced clearances not only destroy temporary homes, but also violate basic human rights. They erase the rare, safe havens that homeless people build amidst the uncertain desert of life on the streets. The irony is that for many homeless people living in these tent cities, despite the hardship, is less dangerous than wandering alone. Here, they have neighbors, someone who checks on them when they're sick, someone who shares a hot meal from a visiting charity group. When these areas are cleared, they lose everything, both shelter and the small but essential social ties. They are forced to start over from zero, setting up a new tent somewhere else until the vicious cycle repeats. And so, amid the glowing skyscrapers and shimmering neon lights of the tourist streets, another San Diego persists, quiet, damp, harsh. A San Diego where home is only a tarp weathering rain and sun. Address changes with every cleanup operation, and the future always hangs in the balance, depending on decisions made by people they have never met. San Diego is often praised as one of the cities with the most pleasant climate in the United States. Golden sunlight pours over the blue ocean, and the cool breeze from the Pacific makes it a dream destination for tourists and new residents. But for the homeless, this climate picture carries a different tone, less romantic, more severe. Summer in San Diego, though not as scorching as a desert, still brings heat waves pushing temperatures above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius. Under the blazing sun, nylon tarps turn into ovens, and the concrete ground becomes scorching hot as if heated by fire. Breathing becomes difficult, and even a slight carelessness can lead to heat stroke or dehydration. In winter, the city welcomes cold and damp rains. For those with homes, rain is just a soothing sound behind a window. But for those sleeping outside, it means nights shivering under drenched blankets, sometimes standing all night just to keep water from flooding into the tent. The consequences of exposure to harsh weather go beyond inconvenience. Every year, dozens of homeless people in San Diego die, not from storms or major natural disasters, but from prolonged heat causing heart overload, cold dampness leading to untreatable pneumonia, or simply exhaustion from consecutive days without proper rest. Death reports often cite exposure to weather as the cause, a dry phrase that actually tells the brief story of slow and solitary deaths. The cruel irony is that many know they are in danger staying outdoors in extreme weather conditions, yet they cannot leave their temporary shelters to seek refuge. The reasons are many. The number of beds in shelters is far less than the demand. Many centers accept people only for limited times or have strict rules that not everyone can meet, and the fear of losing all belongings when leaving. Because for homeless people, every plastic bag, every blanket, every small item is a valuable possession. Clean water and food are also challenging issues. During the peak heat days, free water distribution points are not always available. Many have to rely on cheap sodas or water from public taps that are not guaranteed to be sanitary. Hot meals only appear when volunteer groups visit. Otherwise, most food consists of dry bread or canned goods. In the damp, malnourished environment, weakened immunity, skin diseases, colds, and infected wounds become resident illnesses of this community. When you live in an apartment, the weather is something outside the window. But when your home is only a thin tarp, the weather is something you live with every day. It seeps into your sleep, soaks your clothes, corrodes your health and willpower. San Diego's mild climate, with beautiful temperature numbers on travel brochures, turns out to be a matter of survival for thousands without shelter. Thus, nature, once considered an advantage of San Diego, becomes part of the crisis cycle, pushing people already on society's margins closer to the line between life and death. Facing a growing wave of homelessness across its districts, San Diego's government cannot remain idle. Many programs have been launched, from emergency reception centers to affordable housing investment plans. However, upon closer inspection, the city's response reveals both hopeful bright spots and shadows of shortages and delays. Reception, support, and temporary shelter centers are seen as the first line of defense. In buildings converted from warehouses or old community centers, rows of foldable beds are placed close together, with thin blankets folded at the foot of each bed. In a corner, social workers talk individually with each person, learning their circumstances to connect them to medical services, legal support, or vocational training programs. Some centers even provide hot meals and showers, seemingly small things but luxuries for the homeless. But in reality, the number of beds at these centers has never met demand. Every afternoon, before opening hours, long lines form on the sidewalks. Tension rises as available bed lists are read aloud. Those not on the list must trudgingly return to their outdoor shelters, where they face rain, wind, or oppressive heat again. Some refuse to enter centers due to strict rules, no pets allowed, limits on belongings, or requirement of identification they no longer possess. For them, staying in tents, though dangerous, allows them to keep the few possessions they have left. Alongside temporary shelters, San Diego has announced plans to build thousands of affordable housing units. Community meetings showcase 3D designs of new housing complexes, low-rise apartment buildings, green spaces, communal areas, and support services right inside. These images are publicized as proof that the city has not abandoned the vulnerable. But turning designs into reality has been slow. Administrative procedures, budget shortages, and opposition from some local residents have delayed many projects for years. Meanwhile, homelessness continues to rise. Demand far outpaces supply, and each newly completed unit only helps a few escape the streets while hundreds more are pushed out of their homes. Part of the delay stems from policy disputes. Many regulations require tents and camps to be quickly removed in downtown or tourist areas. The government argues this is necessary to maintain order and hygiene, especially before major events. But human rights groups counter that this is merely cleaning up for the tourists' eyes, destroying the only temporary shelters many have, forcing constant displacement and severing community networks. Moreover, San Diego has yet to implement basic income programs, solutions tested in other cities to help low-income residents maintain rent payments and avoid homelessness. Without such preventive measures, most of the budget still focuses on dealing with consequences rather than stopping problems at their roots. In reality, the authorities are caught in a difficult position. They must respond to public pressure demanding clean streets while also meeting humanitarian demands from social organizations. Budgets are limited, but the needs are enormous. Affordable housing projects often face opposition from residents worried about ruining the neighborhood or increased security problems. Some still cling to the prejudice that too much assistance encourages dependency, an idea repeatedly debunked by research but stubbornly persistent. As a result, the government's response resembles a boat struggling to stay afloat in a storm. There are right directions, opening more shelters, launching housing projects, but the pace cannot keep up with the rising tide. Meanwhile, outside, new tents appear on street corners every day and every night. The sea breeze whistles around people sleeping under the open sky, waiting for a miracle from policies still unfinished. Each year, California spends billions of dollars on homeless services. This figure sounds like proof of a strong welfare system, yet walking the streets of San Diego reveals a paradox. Homelessness continues to rise. The massive budget is like a constantly reinforced dam, but new cracks still appear, and the flood of crisis keeps spilling over. At shelters, overcrowding has become the norm. Many facilities post full signs as early as the evening start. Those who arrive late, tired or sick, must return to the streets. Even those lucky enough to gain entry face strict rules, curfews, no pets allowed, limits on personal belongings, and sometimes requirements for identification documents many no longer have. For many homeless people, these conditions mean sacrificing the safety of their few possessions or giving up companions like pets, the only friends who help ease loneliness. Overcrowding extends beyond shelters. It spills into places never meant to serve as social safety nets. Hospitals become frequent destinations not just for health issues, but as safe temporary resting spots. Emergency rooms handle many cases related to weather exposure, malnutrition, or complications from untreated chronic illnesses. Police are also drawn into this spiral. Beyond maintaining security, they frequently address social situations, finding shelter for wanderers, resolving conflicts at tent camps, or contacting emergency medical services for homeless individuals in critical condition. These duties consume resources and time, placing officers in a controversial position between enforcing order and respecting individual rights. Even public libraries, once solely havens for books and knowledge, have become refuges for many homeless people. They come to escape heat or rain, charge phones, or simply sit quietly in a safe space for a few hours. Library staff, besides organizing books, must now handle social situations, from helping find community service information to managing people who fall asleep for long hours in reading rooms. Current solutions, though well-intentioned, resemble temporary patches on a worn-out fabric. They address symptoms, providing temporary shelter, hot meals, or emergency medical care, but fail to touch root causes: lack of affordable housing, widening wealth gaps, and insufficient mental health services. As these causes persist, the number of people falling into homelessness will not stop, and support systems will remain in a perpetual state of chasing rather than catching up. The image of San Diego now is like a life-saving net stretched to its limits, each strand thinning from bearing too much weight for too long. And the question is not just how do we patch the net, but do we dare to replace it with a new net strong enough to hold all those who are falling? The homelessness crisis in San Diego doesn't just exist in tent camps or hidden street corners. It is leaving a profound mark on the city's appearance, economy, and community life, like a crack slowly spreading across what once seemed a solid wall. First, there is the impact on sanitation and the cityscape. In areas densely populated by homeless people, trash, from plastic bags, beer cans, leftover food, accumulates rapidly. Discarded needles lie mixed in the garbage or scattered on sidewalks, posing dangers to both residents and sanitation workers. The stench from trash, stagnant water, and waste intensifies during hot days, making these areas even harsher. For tourists, these scenes are unforgettable, but not in the positive way the tourism industry hopes for. Regarding security, these areas often witness increased petty thefts, scuffles, or public disturbances. Most of these incidents do not stem from the inherently dangerous nature of homeless people, but are consequences of unstable lives, mental pressures, and despair. However, for local residents and visitors, a sense of safety is affected. Some start avoiding certain streets or choose to live farther from the city center. This leads to clear economic consequences. In neighborhoods with long-standing tent camps, property values drop significantly compared to surrounding areas. Shop owners complain about fewer customers, especially in the evenings. Some small businesses are forced to close due to insufficient patronage. Meanwhile, the city loses business tax revenue, creating a vicious cycle: fewer businesses, fewer jobs, more people losing income, higher risk of homelessness. Yet, amid this bleak picture, there are bright spots from the community. Volunteer organizations, religious groups, and individual volunteers persistently provide hot meals, clean water, clothing, and warm blankets to the homeless. Many groups also organize free haircuts, basic medical care, or legal assistance for applying for benefits. For those living outdoors, these activities offer not only material help but also a sense of recognition, of being seen as human beings. However, even these efforts are only temporary pain relief, because no matter how regularly charity meals arrive or how many warm blankets are distributed, without sustainable housing and a long-term support system, people will return to the sidewalks when night falls. The key question arises: will San Diego choose to protect its image or invest in humanitarian solutions? If it chooses to protect its image, cleanup campaigns will continue, pushing the problem out of sight but not making it disappear. If it chooses humanitarian solutions, the city must accept long-term investments, policy changes, and face fierce debates within the community. This choice not only determines the future of thousands of homeless people, but also shapes San Diego's image and values in the eyes of its citizens and the world. A city may be beautiful because of its scenery, but it is only sustainable when that beauty is built on foundations of justice and humanity. If this story touches you, don't let it remain just a fleeting feeling. Share this video so more people learn the truth behind San Diego's glossy postcards. Subscribe to the channel to join us in uncovering stories never told before. And if you can, take action, whether by volunteering, donating, or simply joining the conversation to push for change. Because tourism is not just about admiring beauty, it's about facing the realities many want to hide. And maybe, from those hidden corners, we find the true definition of a city, one that is not only beautiful in its landscapes, but also in how it treats its people.